Hey, happy day. So this is the video for week 14 relating to the rider weight layout that reflects the current energies that we can anticipate for, well, what we've experienced, the current, and looking forward into this new week. Um, so it took me a little while to get around to doing this video because there is so much. I just had to try and gather my thoughts, but yet everything, it's a big week. There's so much to say about what's gone down, and what's currently influencing what is potentially going to go down in the coming week. And it's blah, blah, blah. So I'm really trying to pull it all together. And in a sense, that is part of the energy. And, if I reflect back on last week's reading, we see that we, in the going forward position, there we had the magician influence. So, what are you phasing out and what are you phasing in? And this week we have, can you believe, well, you see again, it's like, well, first of all, the two extra cards came out this week. So what's interesting in the extra cards is that the Empress came out again. It's the fourth time in the past 5 weeks that we are reminded of this energy. And in the astrological oracle reading for week 14, Venus, which this is the symbol for on the shield, so Venus comes up. So this is a curiosity to me. And always when I'm doing these videos, I start to see even more depth into the cards. I've been seeing a lot of threes this week. Threes are an important number for me. They're part of a triad, so I always work body, mind, and spirit, head, heart, gut, that kind of thing. And threes are about fertility, and I do talk about that more in the reading, so I won't hash it, but it also reminds me of a feeling I'm going through, which ties actually into the card that came up to show us a reflection of last week, the past energies. And that is a sense of, so Tesla always talked about the importance of the numbers 3, 6, and 9. And this is something that's a curiosity to me. So it's in my frame of reference. And I'm always often aware of threes, and also sixes, but threes predominantly. And I have the sense at this time of being a bit like Tesla, in that, every time I do a treatment on someone in a physical form, massage or reflexology, they often express the fact that they're impressed with what I'm offering and what I'm delivering or have delivered. And then they'll say to me, oh gosh, Nikki B, you really should, tell people about this stuff or share this information. Well, let me tell you the following. I do share my genius. I just feel that there is no audience, or my audience is very contained and very limited. So for example, as far as sharing information, on YouTube I've got 136 videos. This will be video number 137, and those numbers add up to 11, which comes up in the reading today. I've done about 400 blogs they're available on my website. I've done 3,499 Instagram posts. I've done thousands of Facebook posts. I've got 2 published articles in the Wellness magazine. Granted, it's a long time ago, but I've got published articles out in the public, in a public publication. I have collated and created a Reiki course, and a massage course, and I'm in the process of developing other courses. So, when people say to me, why don't you share this information? Here I am, I'm sharing it. It's up to you to share it further. this is as far as I can go, other than my social media platforms. So that is the energy I'm having, my Tesla moment. So if I look back at this past week, did you have a tower moment, which is a crisis? It's a major big deal stuff. I certainly did. I had a mental meltdown, which led to an emotional breakdown, which led to my body physically finding everything rather revolting and responding in that way, which in energy terms is a form of purging, because there's a lot of releasing going on, you know, as the readings from the previous weeks spoke to us about realizing things, taking our blinkers off, removing the filters and seeing things for what they are. No more limerence, no more fantasy. And in the process of that, we can experience tower moments, getting real with ourselves about our reality and what's going on and how we're responsible. That's on us. It's nobody else. And that has to do with victim mentality, which this week, like I've been referring to more in my videos about that inner child experience. So over the past few years, it's been brought to our attention, this inner child idea of the inner child and the traumatized inner child. And we've been having to meet and greet this inner child and get to know them and understand their trauma triggers, and why they operate the way they do. That's the inner us, the insecure, the low value, the unappreciated, the uncared for, the unloved being in you that feels small and little and helpless and powerless. So there's this interesting exercise that one could do. You know, I've talked to people before about if you want to feel empowered, you write your own eulogy. This is what you want people to be able to say about you if you died today or tomorrow. What would you want people to say about you? What kind of a person are you? And so that is what you wish to become. So it's very empowering to write your eulogy, to understand where you want to be and where you want to get to and what you want to achieve. And what came to my mind to add to this exercise is it's all fine and well to understand where to go, but where are we now and where are we coming from? What are we working with? What is the playing field? So we know how to place our team, so our resources and our tools in the right place in order to assist us in progressing and moving forward. And that is to write your own suicide note. I know it's a very grim thing to do, and but it's again a very real thing to do. I'm not suggesting in any means or forms that you harm yourself, and in fact I would rather you either contact me or a suitable professional helpline or a resource out there, via telephone, via email, live chat, whatever is available to you in your area, some kind of crisis center. Please seek help before you harm yourself. You do offer value and you are important, and there's a reason why you're here. So please don't give up, and rather seek the help you need in whichever means or form or manner that is. You matter. So that was quite an interesting development on the eulogy idea and an exercise to do. So if you can, as part of your journaling, consider writing a suicide note so you can understand where you are, where you feel limited, where you feel small, where you feel victimized. That would be your inner child, and then your traumatized inner child, and then writing your eulogy would be the way to parent that child, to cloak it and provide a safe space for it to now, for us to guide it into a well-balanced adult. Yes, Tower card this week. That's why it's interesting that suicide comes up, because I can imagine that many people do feel helpless, defeated, broken, weary, worn out, And then it leads to that sense of being heard, understood, and valued and appreciated. And the thing, it's easy to feel unheard, and we often actually are. People are particularly bad at listening, whether it be for physical reasons or simply conditionings of their own filters. And also, people hear what they want to hear, not what you're saying. So be aware of that. People will respond to you from what they are hearing, and they will respond being influenced by their own prejudices, their indoctrinations, and culturalization, all the influences that are imposed upon us in an ego level or state. So let me get my bearings quick. Okay, so that was past position. We have the Hermit, so the Tower card, Major Arcana, followed by another Major Arcana. So this is current energies, and I talk about this quite a lot in the reading. And I was telling a friend yesterday, MB Starlight Guide I use on my social media platforms was actually inspired by this card, because I have an affinity for the arcane, the dark. I don't mind going to dark spaces and shining a light for those who need it there. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of, as in the concept of, and talking about and being comfortable with it. I'm very comfortable with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, pretty much. You know, I like being challenged and challenging myself, because that's how I learn and grow, and it adds to my ability to be who I am and offer what I have to offer. And this lantern on the Radiant Rider Waite deck, the background is black and his cloak is black. It's a very dark space to be in, and he's looking down, and but here in the lantern there's a star that lights up the area, and everything about it is interesting, but I see myself as that star in the lantern, and that's how MB Starlight Guide was inspired. So, and also why I continue to do these videos, even if I only have a small audience. It's quality, and it matters, and it makes a difference. One bite at a time, one small step at a time, as is the advice we've been given. Before we look forward, I want to mention that there is a big Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, and Neptune came out last week in the astrological oracle reading, and it came out again in the exact same position in this week's reading, and it's in astrologically in what's going on out there in the cosmos, planetary, on a planetary level. Conjunction means when planets work, they're close enough that their influences work in unison, so they are big things like the Major Arcana. So I want to just quickly read this to you, if I may. Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces is what's going down currently. And according to Robert Wilkinson's post, I have put the link in the blog, he makes the following comments, and I highlight just the bits that stand out. So first of all, we are completing a 13-year cycle. So Neptune's been in Pisces, but it's going to be moving to Aquarius. And I do mention that in the various readings this week. Aquarius seems to be playing her part in meddling with things. And she, in tarot, by the way, is the star card. And Neptune is the spiritual ruler of Pisces. And so it's almost like pay attention to, so your 13-year cycle will be pay attention to what big lessons you've learned since 2009. What's been going on that's predominant or notable for you since then. The Sabian symbols, I won't go into that now, there is information online, but we'll just use the information, not the source. the Sabian symbol refers to an inhabited island, so we can feel a bit like that in ourselves, like each of us might feel more like an island out there on our own. It's not an alone place to be, it's just unsupported place to be. And perhaps inhabited means you have all the skills, tools, resources and abilities you need. The alchemist from last week, that was in the position we needed to be in to deal with the tower moment we had this past week. So we have it. You just have to be real about. And the looking forward card actually talks about that, the Knight of Pentacles, and it's about going back to basics and using your essentials that you have. Start where you are now with what you have and make that work. So that's where you bring the old, what works from the past, the old, the traditional, the tried and tested, the proof is in the pudding stuff, into the new. We find better ways of doing it. We tweak the recipe so it's faster, or we need less ingredients, or we can exchange ingredients, so we no longer, we can make it gluten-free, egg-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, whatever. It's all possible these days. Centralization of supernatural forces, adaptability and inherent creativeness of man, and extreme of surety in self-expression. So according to the astrological mandala by Ruja, he states the need to consciously accept one's own personal limitations in order to concentrate one's energies and to live a centered and fulfilled life. Expanding ego boundaries so they become a zone of intense interchange between the inner and outer, between the individual and the community, between man and the universe. Fulfilling Dharma is important now. So it's almost like our karmic slate has been cleared, and karma is just about debit and credit. Dharma is about paying it forward, so putting something in the bank for the future, or preparing in a positive way for the future. It's like, paying a deposit to secure whatever it is that you wish to embrace. So it's about a place and function in the greater whole. So finding that for yourself at the moment is quite key. And again, the Knight of Pentacles, and I think the Empress would very much reflect that. Let's see, where are we? So Dr. Mark E. Jones, the creator of the Sabian symbols, states, here we can demonstrate our gifts for the organization of our own private world in any area of special interest. Here we learn about our ability to function in a complete independence of the alien or unfriendly, and develop adequate resources for our need, even in barren situations. And the Empress is exact opposite of that. She is fecund, meaning fertile, which is the opposite of barren. And the Knight of Pentacles, looking forward, we can see that the landscape may appear barren, but perhaps the seeds have already been planted. And I do talk a lot about the seeds of pure potentiality, but this week it's a lot about so Venus. Botticelli displays her as the birth of Venus. She's standing in a clamshell, and we know that pearls are found in oysters. So I had that sense of seeing something. This was the result of the flowering of, if a pearl could develop any further. So a grain of sand gets into the oyster, and over time, over irritation, it develops this these layers of luster, and that's the pearl. And we see that as a decorative object, a thing of beauty. But however, if we look at Venus, we see that perhaps the pearl can be something more. And if we look at a seed that grows and becomes a flower, so the flower, when pollinated and fertilized, will actually become, transform, transmute into a fruit, and or a seed or a grain, or a nut, and that potentially has its own seed bearing capabilities and therefore can perpetuate itself. So that is again, the Empress, something able to recreate or reproduce a version of itself, like cloning. So it's in the same way we have children, our offspring, is a good word to use to explain that. So a phase of capitalizing on potential and coax it to fruition. Cultivation, and so I keep talking about that seed. So, and cultivating is something we do when we garden or are farming. Cultivation, achievement through a creative opportunism or inventiveness of exceptional order. So the theme for the next 13 years, where Neptune is in Aquarius, involves interchanges between us and the visible and invisible worlds, which